भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी विचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्रार्थी पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाख्य सर्वलोकैक प्रदा सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो विद्वांतोदितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्य श्री कृष्णाय नमस्तुमे मदेक बंधो मत्संगिन मद्गुरो मन महाधन मन निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमस्तुते असाधु साधुतादाय नतनी चोच्चताकर आनमंचकराचिन मां प्रेमना कृत्कंठयोस्पुरा ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। मत्तम प्रमत्तम उन्मत्तम सुप्तम बालम स्त्रियम जडम प्रपन्नम रथम भीतम न रिपुम anti dharmavit. A person who knows the principles of religion does not kill an enemy who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. Riporapi सुप्तस्य बालस्य च वधः न धर्मः इति अन्यार्थै दर्शयति. Even though he's an enemy, okay, killing an enemy it's a sleeping boy is not dharma. One should not kill someone under certain circumstances. Careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, foolish, surrendered, afraid, one who has lost his chariot. A person who knows the principles of Vedic Dharma will not kill such a person. I think something is wrong here. Let me just also take out. I'll continue. An enemy who does not resist is never killed by a warrior who knows the principles of religion. Formerly, battles were fought, emphasis on the principles of religion, end of emphasis, and not for the sake of sense gratification. If the enemy happened to be intoxicated, asleep, etc., as above mentioned, he was never to be killed. These are some of the codes of religious war. Formerly, war was never declared by the whims of selfish political leaders. It was carried out on religious principles free from all vices. Violence carried out on religious principles is far superior to so-called non-violence. 57. Let me know this. What is this verse? This is 1.7.36. Swapranan yah parapranai prapushnatyaghrina alaha tadvadastasya shreyo yad doshad yatha puman. A cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions. Though dandarupaha, killing him is a form of a punishment. Tasyeva shreyaha purusharthaha. Will help him attain his human goals. Yadyataha, because danda prayaschitta rahitat doshat, because that defect, if it is not accompanied by an atonement in the form of punishment, so puman adhoyati, that will lead that person, uh, that will make that person go down. Tatha chasmaranti, and this is stated in the Smriti. Rajavir hridandastu कृत्वा पापानि मानवा विधूत कल्मषा यान्ति स्वर्गम सुकृतिनो यथा. Human beings who have performed sinful activities, when they accept the punishment offered by righteous kings, will become free from their sinful contamination, and they will go to Swarga like those who have performed pious activities. Why all these purports are coming right at the time when I'm thinking that those who commit terrible crimes should be killed? A life for a life is just punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another's life. Political morality is to punish a person by a death sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. That a murderer is condemned to a death sentence by the state is good for the culprit, because in his next life he will not have to suffer for his act of murder. Such a death sentence for the murderer is the lowest possible punishment offered to him. And it is said in the Smriti Shastras that men who are punished by the king on the principle of a life for a life are purified of all their sins, so much so that they may be eligible for being promoted to the planets of hell. According to Manu, the great author of civic codes and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer, because animal food is never meant for the civilized man whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to God. He says that in the act of killing an animal, there is a regular conspiracy by the party of sinners, and all of them are liable to be punished as murderers, exactly like a party of conspirators who kill a human being combinedly. Emphasis: he who gives permission, he who kills the animal, he who sells the slaughtered animal, he who cooks the animal, he who administers distribution of the foodstuff, and at last he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers, and all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. End of emphasis. No one can create a living being despite all advancement of material science, and therefore no one has a right to kill a living being by one's independent opening of by one's independent whims. For the animal eaters, the scriptures have sanctioned restricted animal sacrifices only, and such sanctions are there just to restrict the opening of slaughterhouses and not to encourage animal killing. The procedure under which animal sacrifice is allowed in the scriptures is good, both for the animal sacrificed and the animal eaters. It is good for the animal in the sense that the sacrificed animal is at once promoted to the human form of life after being sacrificed at the altar, and the animal eater is saved from grosser types of sins, namely eating meat supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material afflictions to society, country, and the people in general. The material world is itself a place always full of anxieties, and by the encouragement of animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. 38. Pratishrutam च bhavata पांचाल्यै शृण्वतो मम आहरिष्ये शिरस्tasya yaste manini putraha. Furthermore, I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons. So this is considered a very uh, important consideration, that you made a promise, you made a statement. It cannot be easily dismissed. $39. Mohan Radha Pariguru.
Hare Krishna. So in the animal sacrifices, the Goma Yagya and Aswamedh Yagyas, so the sacrificed animal used to become some human being, and so the previous body, was it given to the meat eaters in earlier
No,
days?
it becomes a human being. It does not become human being. It goes to heaven.
Oh, okay. So that my question was, so was the body remaining, the body was given to the meat eaters as uh, like in purport we were reading something like that too.
The purpose, what did we read?
So mm, mm, sacrificed animal, the
Is at once
both.
promoted the human form of life, but there are different forms of humanity, Prabhupada says, in various planets. So human simply refers to those who are capable of following Vedic scriptures.
No, and the animal eater is saved from grosser types of sins. Does it mean that even by eating those animals, they were saved from sins, like grosser sins, the meat eaters? My question is that was meat eating also going on by this or not?
Like this means what?
Like this means the like animal sacrifice happened, so the animal got the soul in the animal body, he got promotion, but the body which remained was given to the meat eaters or not? That one,
It was eaten.
is it?
Sacrificial meat was eaten. Medhya, mamsa, it is called.
Oh, okay.
By certain, there are some people who would eat.
Okay.
39. तदसो वध्यताम पाप आतताय आत्मबंधु हा भर्तुश्च विप्रियम वीर कृतवान कुलपाम सनः. This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of his family. Kill him immediately. The son of Dronacharya is condemned here as the burnt remnants of his family. The good name of Dronacharya was very much respected. Although he joined the enemy camp, the Pandavas held him always in respect, and Arjuna saluted him before beginning the fight. There was nothing wrong in that way. But the son of Dronacharya degraded himself by committing acts which were never done by the Dvijas or the twice born higher castes. Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya, committed murder by killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, by which he dissatisfied his master, Duryodhana, who never approved of the heinous act of killing the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. This means that Ashwatthama became an assaulter of Arjuna's own family members, and thus he was liable to be punished by him. In the Shastras, he who attacks without notice or kills from behind or sets fire to another's house or kidnaps one's wife is condemned to death. Krishna reminded Arjuna of these facts so that he might take notice of them and do the needful. 40. Tutovacha evam parikshata dharmam parsah krishnena choditaha naikshadhantam gurusutam yadyapyatma hanam mahan. Suta Goswami said, although Krishna was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged him to kill the son of Dronacharya. Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Ashwatthama was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. Arjuna was a great soul, undoubtedly, which is proved here also. He is encouraged here personally by the Lord to kill the son of Drona, but Arjuna considers that the son of his great teacher should be spared, for he happens to be the son of Dronacharya, even though he is an unworthy son, having done all sorts of heinous acts whimsically for no one's benefit. Lord Sri Krishna encouraged Arjuna outwardly just to test Arjuna's sense of duty. It is not that Arjuna was incomplete in the sense of his duty, nor was Lord Sri Krishna unaware of Arjuna's sense of duty. But Lord Sri Krishna puts many of his pure devotees to the test just to magnify their sense of duty. The gopis were put to such tests as well. Prahlad Maharaj also was put to such a test. All pure devotees come out successful in the respective tests by the Lord. So this explains why Krishna was impelling Arjuna to kill. Parikshata, dharmam parikshata, Krishnena. Krishna was examining Arjuna regarding duty. So it is not that whatever Krishna says, immediately they do. It's not like that. They first consider whether it is in line with Vedic Dharma. In today's world, there is some difficulty in understanding this principle. But the basic principle is, first of all, we follow Shastra. Because Shastra is the eternal will of God. Vedo Narayana Sakshad Swayambhu Ritishushtrama. Then we see how the scripture has been applied in the past by saintly authorities and what results they have attained. Have they attained the results which have been promised in the scriptures or not? And then we consider, okay, this is what is dharma, this is what we need to follow because we will attain the same result. Very much result oriented. 41. Athopetyasva shibiram Govinda Priya Saratihi Nyavedayattam Priyayai Shochantya Atmajan Hatan. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer Sri Krishna, entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. The transcendental relation of Arjuna with Krishna is that of the dearmost friendship. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself has claimed Arjuna as his dearmost friend. Every living being is related with the Supreme Lord by some sort of affectionate relation, either as servant or as a friend or as parent or as an object of conjugal love. Anyone at all can thus enjoy the company of the Lord in the spiritual realm if he desires it and sincerely tries for it by the process of Bhakti Yoga. The seed for this discussion is this word, Govinda Priyasaratihi. One who enlivens the senses, Lord Sri Krishna, who was the dear charioteer. Govinda Priyasaratihi means, it refers to Arjuna. Arjuna, whose dear charioteer was the one who enlivens the senses, Lord Sri Krishna. 42. Tathakritam Pashivat Pashabaddham Avang Mukham Karma Jugupsitena Niriksha Krishna Pakritam Guru Sutam Vamaswabhava Kripayana Namacha. Sri Suruta Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Ashwatthama, who was bound with ropes like an animal and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. Due to her female nature and due to her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana. Tatha Paribhavena Akhritam Anitam. Ashwatthama was brought after being defeated. Karmanaha Jugupsitena Doshena Avang Mukham Adho Vadanam. his head, he was facing down. His head was facing down because he had committed a very abominable activity. Vakritam, apakarinam. He was a sinner. Kripaya nirikshya. Draupadi saw Ashwatthama with compassion. Vamaha shobhana swabhava yasyasa. Because she had a gentle nature. Ashwatthama was condemned by the Lord himself and he was treated by Arjuna just like a culprit, not like the son of a Brahmana or a teacher. But when he was brought before Srimati Draupadi, she, although bereaved due to the murder of her sons, and although the murderer was present before her, could not withdraw the due respect generally offered to a Brahmana or to the son of a Brahmana. This is due to her mild nature as a woman. Women as a class are like boys, and therefore they have no discriminatory power like that of a man. Ashwatthama proved himself to be an unworthy son of Dronacharya or of a Brahmana, and for this reason he was condemned by the greatest authority, Lord Sri Krishna. And yet a mild woman could not withdraw her natural courtesy for a Brahmana. Even to date, in a Hindu family, a woman shows proper respect to the Brahman caste. This is Prabhupada writing in 1959 or 1960. However fallen and heinous a Brahmabandhu may be, but the men have begun to protest against Brahmabandhus who were born in families of good Brahmanas, but by action are less than Shudras. The specific word used in this shloka is Vama Swabhava, mild and gentle by nature. A good man or woman accepts anything very easily, but a man of average intelligence does not do so. But anyway, we should not give up our reason and discriminatory power just to be gentle. One must have good discriminatory power to judge a thing on its merit. We should not follow the mild nature of a woman and thereby accept that which is not genuine. Ashwatthama may be respected by a good-natured woman, but that does not mean that he is as good as a genuine Brahmana. 43. Yes.
Prabhuji, as you mentioned that they did not immediately did whatever Krishna asked them, they considered in terms of Shastras whether it was dharmic. So one might say that when Krishna asked Yudhishthir Maharaj to tell a lie, he hesitated, and then because of that hesitation, he has to see hell. So there also he was considering his Krishna's statement, but the explanation is given that because he hesitated, for that reason only he was shown hell. So how to balance these two cases?
See,
like he is taking time.
see. First of all, in that situation, Krishna was not testing Yudhishthira. Now, how do you know when Krishna is testing and when he's not testing? When what Krishna says is in line with the Vedic scriptures or when it is not in line with the Vedic scriptures. There are 5 circumstances when speaking untruth gives you the benefit of speaking the truth. Even Lord Ramachandra spoke untruth in 2 circumstances. If there is a life crisis, pranakritra, then one can speak untruth. Even then, you have to consider whether the life crisis is for oneself or it is the life crisis for others. So, the entire Kurukshetra war was happening because Duryodhana and company were adharmically trying to take over the administration of a kingdom. And that needed to be put down. And Drona should not have sided. Bhishma should not have sided. So Drona needed to be killed. So when Lord Krishna ordered Yudhishthira to speak untruth, that time it was really and literally a matter of Prana Krishna, life crisis. Life crisis for so many people, thousands of people. When Yudhishthira took over the kingdom flourished. That description we will see in Bhagavatam. We will also, you can also see it in Mahabharata. It flourished. You do not hear that when Duryodhana was ruling the kingdom, it flourished like that. So it was actually for people's welfare, spiritual and material welfare. So Lord Krishna's instruction to Yudhishthira at that time that he must speak untruth was not followed by Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira thought that he knew dharma better than Krishna, even when Krishna was not testing. So he committed the offense of disregarding Lord Krishna's analysis of Vedic dharma. Therefore, Madhvacharya says, Yudhishthira Maharaj was at fault. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said, this is the reason why he had to experience hell. It's correct only. Because Krishna was not testing at that point.
Okay, bro. Thank you, brother.
Okay. 43. Uvachacha sa hantyasya bandhana anayanam sati muchyata brahmano nitaram guruhu. She would not tolerate Ashwatthama's being bound by ropes and being a devoted lady. She said, release him, for he is a Brahmana, our spiritual master. She bowed down and she spoke. Here it is indicated that she was in a state of confusion. As soon as Ashwatthama was brought before Draupadi, she thought it intolerable that a Brahmana should be arrested like a culprit and brought before him in that condition, especially when the Brahmana happened to be a teacher's son. Arjuna arrested Ashwatthama, knowing perfectly well that he was a son of Dronacharya. Krishna also knew him to be so, but both of them condemned the murderer without consideration of his being the son of a Brahmana. According to revealed scriptures, a teacher or spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy of the position of a guru or spiritual master. A guru is called also an acharya, or a person who has personally assimilated all the essence of Shastras and has helped his disciples to adopt the ways. Ashwatthama failed to discharge the duties of a Brahmana or teacher, and therefore he was liable to be rejected from the exalted position of a Brahmana. On this consideration, both Lord Sri Krishna and Arjuna were right in condemning Ashwatthama. But to a good lady like Draupadi, the matter was considered not from the angle of Shastric vision, but as a matter of custom. By custom, Ashwatthama was offered the same respect as offered to his father. It was so because generally the people accept the son of a Brahmana as a real Brahmana by sentiment only. Factually, the matter is different. A Brahmana is accepted on the merit of qualification, not on the merit of simply being the son of a Brahmana. I think that one of the reasons that India is messed up to a great degree is because they have certain customary misconceptions that these people are our authorities. One who is a Brahmana is an authority, a father is an authority, a mother is an authority, elder brother authority, elder sister authority, aunt is authority, uncle is authority, teacher is authority. All these people are authorities because customarily, previously, they were superior in dharma. If you are superior in dharma, and generally, we are all born as Shudras. Mana jayate Shudra. We need to be trained in dharma to come up. So, but those who are adults, they have already come up to that status of being dharmic or even being sattvic in addition to being dharmic. So there was a training that you need to listen to them, you need to listen to them, you need to listen to them. But in today's, in 2024, if you simply tell them you need to listen to your parents, you need to listen to this one, that one, this one, and they are not worthy of that. What to speak of Brahman? Now, luckily, nobody takes those who are born in Brahman caste seriously. But there are other kinds of difficulties. The basic problem is if you have authorities who are severely imperfect. In countries like in America and other places, they don't quarrel with the parents, but they just move out because they cannot tolerate the idea of having to accept an imperfect authority. Now, of course, you may argue that for those who are actually immature from the social point of view, like a young child or a teenager, those who are easily impulsive, he or she will not be able to handle life without accepting some authority. Because they'll commit they will take a wrong decision in life and they'll mess up their life and they'll realize their faults much later in life, after which they will not be able to rectify their life. I mean, the problems that have come up. So therefore, it is better to listen to authorities. But if the authorities are imperfect to a certain acceptable degree, that's fine. But if they go beyond, if the authorities themselves create a mess, I know of families where the parents themselves got their daughters to drink at a young age, 15, 16 or something like that. So what do you do with what is so sacred about listening to and being respectful to these kind of parents? Parents who don't teach you morality, people who tell you that it's all right to be corrupt. What is this? Then what is this sentiment that I should be respectful to my parents, I should listen to my parents, I should be considerate to my parents? It's all crap. If we want to do the greatest good to ourselves and others, we need to accept imperfect authorities who have accepted the perfect authority of Lord Krishna and who are interested in becoming perfect pure devotees of Krishna and who are verifiably striving to become perfect pure devotees of Krishna. Even then, they need to be accepted to whatever extent they need to be accepted. Unconditional surrender unto perfect pure devotees of Krishna, and only conditional surrender unto imperfect, even pure devotees of Krishna. But in spite of all this, Draupadi desired that Ashwatthama be at once released, and it was all the same a good sentiment for her. This means that a devotee of the Lord can tolerate all sorts of tribulation personally, but still such devotees are never unkind to others, even to the enemy. These are the characteristics of one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. These are the characteristics. Means devotees being never unkind to others, even to one's enemy, tolerating all sorts of tribulation personally. These are the characteristics of one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. Draupadi is a pure devotee. She has these qualities, but she is behaving like a woman. In the Upanishads also we come across I think Yagyavalkya. He had two wives. One wife is described as a Brahmavadini, a theologian, somebody who knew the science of God. And the other one was referred to as a Stri Pragya, one who had the consciousness of a woman. 44. Sarahasyo dhanarveda savisargopasamyamaha astagramascha bhavata shikshito yad anugraha. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. You have learned the confidential knowledge of the art of manipulating bows and arrows. You have learned how to release them. You have learned how to withdraw them by controlling them. You have learned about all kinds of weapons. It's all by the mercy of Dronacharya. Dhanurveda or military science was taught by Dronacharya with all its confidential secrets of throwing and controlling by Vedic hymns. Gross military science is dependent on material weapons, but finer than that is the art of throwing the arrows saturated with Vedic hymns, which act more effectively than gross material weapons like machine guns or atomic bombs. The control is by Vedic mantras or the transcendental science of sound. It is said in the Ramayana that Maharaj Dasharatha, the father of Lord Shri Krishna, used to control arrows by sound only. Shabda Vedhana. He could pierce his target with his arrow by only hearing the sound without seeing the object. And still he committed a blunder. So this is a finer military science than that of the gross material military weapons used nowadays. Arjuna was taught all this. Therefore, Draupadi wished that Arjuna feel obliged to Acharya Drona for all these benefits. And in the absence of Dronacharya, his son was his representative. That was the opinion of the good lady Draupadi. It may be argued why Dronacharya, a rigid Brahmana, should be a teacher in military science. But the reply is that a Brahmana should become a teacher regardless of what his department of knowledge is. A learned Brahmana should become a teacher, a priest, and a recipient of charity. A bona fide Brahmana is authorized to accept such professions. Is authorized, meaning he is permitted. He is not permitted to accept other professions in situations of non-crisis. He can only accept this. These are not his duties. These are what he is allowed to do. What are his duties? His duty is to study. His duty is to engage in worship. And his duty is to give in charity. These are prescribed. And he is allowed to make others study. He is allowed to help others worship. And he is allowed to receive charity. 45. Sa esha Bhagavan Drona prajarupena vartate tasyatmanortham patnyaste nanvagad virasuh kripi. He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. His wife Kripi did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. Kripi was the half body of Drona because she was his patni. Patni means a religious wife. And the Shruti says, Arthova Esha Atmano Yat Patni, because she was his half, as his wife. Jayapati Agnim Adati Ya Tam. It is mentioned in the Shruti that the husband and wife together should participate in fire sacrifices. Nanu Bhartari Mrite Sa Katham Jivati. How is it that she is alive? Now that her husband has died, Tatrahan Anvagad Bhartaram. She did not follow her husband. Yataha, because Virasupu, Putravati, because she had a heroic son. The wife of Dronacharya, Kripi, is the sister of Kripacharya, a devoted wife who is, according to revealed scripture, the better half of her husband, is justified in embracing voluntary death along with her husband if she is without issue. But in the case of the wife of Dronacharya, she did not undergo such a trial because she had her son, the representative of her husband. A widow is a widow only in name if there is a son of her husband existing. So in either case, Ashwatthama was the representative of Dronacharya, and therefore killing Ashwatthama would be like killing Dronacharya. That was the argument of Draupadi against the killing of Ashwatthama. Sati was voluntary. It was not compulsory. That too in Kali Yuga, in certain parts of India only it became compulsory. In Bengal and surrounding areas. Because they developed some, I forget the exact details, but it had something to do with inheriting property. And if the widow died, the others would get the property. In other parts of India, they did not have such a conception. They did not, they would not get a property by the death of a widow. So they did not make a big noise about it. Meenakshi Jain has written a book on this, on Sati. 46. Tad dharmagya mahabhaga bhavadbhir gauravam kulam vrijinam narhati praptum pujyam vandyam abhikshnashaha. O most fortunate one who knows the principles of religion, it is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipable. A slight insult for a respectable family is sufficient to invoke grief. Therefore, a cultured man should always be careful in dealing with worshipable family members. 47. Marodidasya janani Gautami patidevata yathaham rutavatsarta rodimyashru mukhi. My Lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am agreed for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. Sympathetic good lady as she was, Srimati Draupadi did not want to put the wife of Dronacharya in the same position of childlessness, both from the point of motherly feelings and from the respectable position held by the wife of Dronacharya. Selflessness. You can see here. 48. Yaih kopitam brahmakulam rajanyai rajitatmabhihi tatkulam pradahatyashu sanubandham shucharpitam. If the members of the administrative kingly order being unrestricted in sense control offend the Brahmana order and enrage them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole royal family and brings grief upon them all. Vipakshe dosha. She then talks about the problems that arise if you don't listen to her. The Brahmana order of society or the spiritually advanced caste or community and the members of such highly elevated families were always held in great esteem by the other subordinate castes, namely the administrative, kingly order, the mercantile order, and the laborers. As long as the Brahmanas did what they were supposed to do. Otherwise, they will lose their respect. Even we, the preachers of Krishna consciousness in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, as long as we accept the restrictions due to us, then we will be respected. But if we start relaxing on those restrictions, then we will have to face a lot of trouble in the future. A lot of trouble means a lot of trouble. And we should not think that we will not be there to experience it, because we will certainly be reborn to experience it. 49. Suta Vacha. Dharmam Nyayam Sakarunam Nirvyalikam Samam Mahat Raja Dharma Suto Ragya Pratyanandat Vachod Vijah. Suta Goswami said, O Brahmanas, King Yudhishthira fully supported the statements of the queen, which were in accordance with the principles of religion and were justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity. So there were 6 auspicious features in Draupadi's statement. Krashtavya, Drashtavya, Drashtas. In the previous 6 verses, from that, these 6 qualities have been brought out. Dharmyam, what she said was in line with dharma. It was not devoid of dharma. Muchitam, muchitam, iti. In the statement in which Draupadi said, please release him, please release him. Nyayam, nyayaganapetam. It was not devoid of a sense of justice or righteousness. Sarhasya, you have learned the Dhanur Veda along with the confidential mantras for invoking and withdrawing these astras. Sakaruna, tasyatmanordham iti. Karunam, tasyatmanordham iti. She had compassion, and therefore she said, here is Ashwatthama's mother. She is half of Drona, nirvyalikam, devoid of duplicity. Tad dharmagya, since you are a knower of religion, you should not kill. Samam, he was equal-minded. Marodi, dukhya samyokte. She did not want this lady to cry because she would experience the same distress. She would experience an equal distress. Mahat, yaih kopitamiti nishturokya hitopadesha. And what she said was great. Why was it great? Because she spoke very harshly, saying that if you enrage the Brahmana order, the Kshatriya order will be destroyed, which is a good advice. Evam bhutam ragya vachaha Erguja Raja Pratyananda Anumoditavan. Because the queen's words were like this, the king appreciated it, approved. Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was the son of Dharmaraj or Yamaraj, fully supported the words of Queen Draupadi in asking Arjuna to release Ashwatthama. One should not tolerate the humiliation of a member of a great family. Arjuna and his family were indebted to the family of Dronacharya because of Arjuna's learning the military science from him. If ingratitude were shown to such a benevolent family, it would not be at all justified from the moral standpoint. The wife of Dronacharya, who was the half body of the great soul, must be treated with compassion, and she should not be put into grief because of her son's death. That is compassion. Such statements by Draupadi are without duplicity because actions should be taken with full knowledge of dharma. The feeling of equality was there because Draupadi spoke out of her personal experience. A barren woman cannot understand the grief of a mother. Draupadi was herself a mother, and therefore her calculation of the depth of Kripi's grief was quite to the point. And it was glorious because she wanted to show proper respect to her great family. 50. Nakulas Sahadevascha Yudhano Dhananjaya Bhagavan Devaki Putro Ye Chanye Yasha Yoshita. Nakula and Sahadeva, the younger brothers of the king, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of God and Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Devaki, and the ladies and others all unanimously agreed with the king. One. Tatrahamarshito bhimas tasya shreyan vadhasmritaha na bhartur natmanascharthe yohan suktam shishun vritha. Bhima, however, angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing the culprit who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and for neither his nor his master's interest. But Bhima alone disagreed. His view was to kill Drauni is good for Drauni himself. Otherwise, Ashwatthama is going to go to hell. Two. Nishamya Bhima Gaditam Draupadyascha Chaturbhujaha Alokya Vadanam Sakyur Idamaha Hasanniva. Chaturbhuja, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhima, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling. Chaturbhujokte ayam bhavaha. This is the idea behind referring to Lord Krishna as Chaturbhuja, four-armed. Bhime tam hantum pravritte Draupadyam cha sahasatan nivarane pravrittayam ubhayoh samvarana avishkrita chaturpujaha iti. On one hand, Bhima was ready to kill Ashwatthama. On the other hand, Draupadi immediately wanted to stop Bhima. So she was getting ready for that. To prevent both of them, the Lord manifested four arms. Sandhihanasya Sakyur Arjunasya. And the Lord looked at Arjuna, who was in doubt about what to do. He was a friend of the Lord. Lord Shri Krishna had two arms, and why is designated as four-armed is explained by Sridhar Swami. Both Bhima and Draupadi held opposite views about killing Ashwatthama. Bhima wanted him to be immediately killed, whereas Draupadi wanted to save him. We can imagine Bhima ready to kill while Draupadi is obstructing him. And in order to prevent both of them, the Lord discovered another two arms. That means he revealed another two arms, manifested another two arms. Originally, the primeval Lord Shri Krishna displays only two arms, but in his Narayana feature, he exhibits four. In his Narayana feature, he resides with his devotees in the Vaikuntha planets, while in his original Shri Krishna feature, he resides in the Krishnaloka planet, far, far above the Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. Therefore, if Shri Krishna is called Chaturbhujaha, there is no contradiction. If need be, he can display hundreds of arms as he exhibited in his Vishwarupa shown to Arjuna. Therefore, one who can display hundreds and thousands of arms can also manifest four whenever needed. When Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with Ashwatthama, Lord Shri Krishna, as the very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution. And he was smiling also. 3 to 54. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Brahmabandhurna hantavya atatayi vatharhanah mayaivo bhayamamnatam paripahya anuशासनम Kuru pratishrutam satyam yattat swahantvai yata priyam priyam cha bhimasenasya panchalya mahyamevacha. The personality of God, as Shri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena and me. Mayaiva, the Supreme Lord himself has given both of these injunctions because he is the author of the scriptures, the eternal author of the eternal scriptures. Brahmano na hantavya. A Brahmana should not be killed. That is one set of injunction. आदतायन मायांतम अपि वेदांत पारगम जिघांसंतम जिघांसीयान नतेन ब्रह्मः भवेत्. If an aggressor who has even crossed to the other shore of the Vedas, if he uh, comes forward to kill, then one can go forward to kill him. He will not be considered the killer of a Brahmana. Two different injunctions. Taduvayamapi anhasanam paripalaya. So you should follow both of them. Pravacha pratigyam puraya. You have also made a promise. By the way, in Vedic civilization, whenever you say something, I will do this, it is automatically a promise. You don't have to further declare that this is a promise. You said that, that's a promise, that's all. Priyam santva yata tvaya yat pratishrutam ananam tacha satyam guru priyam chukuru. You are consoling your beloved wife. So you had promised that you would kill. And that you should make it both true and pleasing. Mahyam mama, it should be pleasing. It will please me. It will please her. It will please me also. Tatravadhe bhimasya priyam bhavati. It will please Bhima. Avadhe Draupadya. If you don't kill, it will please Draupadi. Dvaye Shri Krishnasya. And if you do both, it will please Shri Krishna. Arjuna was perplexed because Ashwatthama was to be killed as well as spared, according to different scriptures cited by different persons. As a Brahmabandhu or a worthless son of a Brahmana, Ashwatthama was not to be killed. But he was at the same time an aggressor also. So there is this injunction, Brahmano na hantavya. One who is a Brahmana, even by name, should not be killed. That means even if he's a Brahmabandhu, he should not be killed. And according to the rulings of Manu, an aggressor, even though he be a Brahmana, and what to speak of an unworthy son of a Brahmana, is to be killed. So even if one is by Gunakarma a Brahmana, but circumstantially he is an aggressor, then he is to be killed. Dronacharya was certainly a Brahmana in the true sense of the term, but because he stood in the battlefield, he was killed. But although Ashwatthama was an aggressor, he stood without any fighting weapons. The ruling is that an aggressor, when he is without weapon or chariot, cannot be killed. All these were certainly perplexities. So this is called the Dharma Sukshma, subtle consideration regarding what would be Dharma and what would not be Dharma. Besides that, Arjuna had to keep the promise he had made before Draupadi just to pacify her. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhu, even if one is a Brahmana by guna karma, if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. But we can ask that if he is Brahmana by guna and karma, how can he become aggressor? And if he is aggressor, how he can be at that moment a Brahmana by guna and karma? Because a
No,
Brahmana is
he may
like
be in
fixed up.
general a Brahmana by guna karma, but in that particular circumstance, he may be overcome by passion or ignorance, and he might be doing something which is criminal.
Okay. Okay, bro.
And he also had to satisfy both Bhima and Krishna who advised killing him. This dilemma was present before Arjuna, and the solution was awarded by Krishna. 55. Tutuvacha. Arjuna sahasa gyaya harer hardam athasina manim jahara murdhanyam vijasya sahamurdhajam. Suta Goswami said, just then Ashwatthama could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders. And thus, with his sword, he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjuna by a sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewels from the head of Ashwatthama. This was as good as cutting off his head, yet his life was saved for all practical purposes. Here, Ashwatthama is indicated as twice born. Certainly, he was twice born, but he fell down from his position, and therefore he was properly punished. Okay, let me pick up. Acharya's explanations from 36, 36, 37 I already went through, right? What was this? यतः महान कृष्णस्य स्वभाव अभिज्ञः. Arjuna was great because he knew about Lord Sri Krishna's nature. तस्य च अयं स्वभावः. स्वयं सर्वज्ञोऽपि धर्मादिनिष्ठा ख्यापनाय तद्बद्धः भक्तान् परीक्षतः. इति तत्र, okay. Even though this is the very nature of Lord Sri Krishna, that even though he knows everything, in order to celebrate the steadiness of his devotees in dharma and so on, he tests devotees who are steady in specific, who are steady in possessing specific attributes like attachment to dharma and so on. So in 1.7.35, we notice that Arjuna is experiencing Veera and Raudra Rasa, but he was being tested. Similarly, the gopis were tested. The highest dharma is to serve one's husband. They were also tested. That was karma dharma. Later in 10th canto, chapters 47 and 82, the gopis were tested by being presented jnana dharma. Then Ritu, on Prahlad, it's Prahlad. Prithvu, Prahlad, they were, this is the 7th canto. In the 4th canto, we come across a statement by the Lord to Prithu Maharaj, please accept the benediction. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj was also requested by the Lord, please accept the benediction. But they did not accept, because they were devotees of the Lord of a pure type, and that is noted. Viyamanam na grananti. Third canto. In the 3rd canto, Lord Kapila says that those who are pure devotees, they do not accept dharma, artha, kama, moksha, even when it is offered to them. So even perfect devotees, perfect pure devotees of the Lord are tested. Sorry. So in this way, they are tested. And another point to be noted is even the perfect pure devotees also test. They also test their disciples. Tahi Shukaha evam Shashtaskande Papanistararthaha Prishtaha Prayashchittamatramuktva Parikshitaha Siddhanta Abhigyatam Navame Shri Krishna Leelam Sankshepenotva Leelautsukhyam Dwadashe Brahmajnanam Upakshipya Bhakti Nishtham Pariksham Chakre iti. Shukadev Goswami in the 6th canto, when he was asked by Parikshit Maharaj, how do we become delivered from sinful reactions? At that time, he simply spoke about prayaschitta, ordinary prayaschitta within karma. But Parikshit refused to accept it. So from that, he revealed Parikshit's understanding of the Siddhanta. And in the 9th canto, he very briefly described Krishna Leela. Why did he briefly describe Krishna Leela? Because he wanted to reveal Parikshit's eagerness for Krishna Leela, which also Parikshit comes up with. And therefore, the 10th canto and 11th canto were spoken. Then in the 12th canto, the final instruction of Shukadev Goswami was simply that you should meditate that I am Brahman. Brahman is me. And there's no difference between us and so on. This is Jnana Dharma. But Parikshit Maharaj did not do such a meditation. He meditated on the lotus feet of Krishna only, as there is evidence from the Bhagavatam itself. Na tatra tatra spashtyarthe tatparyam. So one should not think that whatever was externally spoken in those places, that is the actual intent of the Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna wanted to point out that this lady, Draupadi, was more gentle than even Arjuna. Mayaiva Ubhayam Amnatam, text 52. Jiva Goswami notes that the Lord revealed his Aishwarya feature in order to make Arjuna follow his own instructions now. Okay. The reason why Ashwatthama is referred to as a Brahmabandhu is because he is now an Atatai, he is an aggressor. It has been prescribed that he should be killed only because he was an aggressor. One can be an aggressor even by entering into a war. Bhagavatam 1.9.38, Sri Bhishma says, he refers to himself as an Atatai. Just by being in a war, you can be considered an Atatai, an aggressor. Literally, he did not cut Ashwatthama's head, but he cut something from his head, and that can be indirectly referred to as cutting his head off. Okay, I'll stop with this. Okay, any further questions? Otherwise, Mohan Radhapati, please.
Hare Krishna. As we heard of test by Lord and for his perfect pure devotees and perfect pure devotees for their disciples. So, what can we consider as test in the life of a sadhaka?
No, we should follow and pass the tests. That's all. What is the problem with that? Krishna will never give us a test that we cannot pass.
So different circumstances in which we are they all tests like that, or they are only simply our karmic reactions?
And Krishna will decide. Okay.